Hi you guys, so I'm going to show you guys how to make this pumpkin bag holder, and you're going to need some orange yarn for this project, obviously some brown for the stem and some green for the vines that have the curly cues at the bottom. This is the yarn that I used. I bought 2 of them and I used both of them for this project, so you might want to get about, like, what is that, 360 yards, and this is a colorway. You're going to need a hair tie. I got that off Amazon. It's trying to get away from me. 5.5 millimeter crochet hook, 2 stitch markers, a large eye sewing needle, and some scissors, and that's what I used for this project. Okay, so we're starting with a slip knot. For the actual bag, we're gonna chain 41. So we're going to skip the first chain and we're going to work into each stitch across. We're gonna have 40 stitches when we work across. And this is row 1. Okay, so after row 1 we begin the repeat rows. So for row 2, which is the beginning of a row repeat, rows 2 through 5 are the repeats for this pattern. So we're going to chain 1, turn the work, and we'll be working into the front loops, and I want to work the front loop, and we're going to single crochet and we're going to mark that stitch off right there. So we marked the first stitch. Now we're going to work in the front loops of each stitch across, single crochet in the front loops. And that's the last front loop stitch. The piece is going to have these front loops right here that we skipped. If you can see that, I don't know if it's auto-focusing. So right now we're going to place the stitch marker into the second row, because we're going to go back and work into that row. But for right now we're going to chain 1. This is row 3. Chain 1, turn the work, and we're going to drop down to the 2 rows below, and we're going to single crochet into those front loops that we skipped. They were the back loops, but because we're turning, they're the front loops now. And we're just going to single crochet into each front loop across. Okay, now so for row 4 we chain 1, we're going to turn the work, and we're going to go into the stitch that we marked from the row below, and that's why we have the stitch markers, so we can know where we're working. So I worked my first single crochet, and I'm going to move the stitch marker to that stitch I just made, so that way I could keep track and mark it. And we're going to, sorry if this is getting confusing, this is the tail. We're just going to work across this row, and that's row 4. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, row 4. Just single crochet in each stitch across in both loops, and this is the last stitch and it's marked. Now I'm going to chain 1 for row 5. So row 5, we're going to chain 1, turn the work, and we're going to work the first stitch and then mark it. So I worked the first stitch, a single crochet. This is all single crocheting, and I'm going to mark that stitch on row 5, and we're just going to single crochet into each stitch across. And into that marked stitch. Okay, so this is what the pattern looks like. We're going to have these raised single crochets because we went into the front loops, and then in between the raised single crochet we'll have 1, 2, 3 rows. So this is a repeat row, so we got rows 2 through 5, and I'm going to repeat rows 2 through 5 again, and then I will chapter it so that you guys can rewatch it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do row 2. We're going to chain 1 and turn the work, and we're going to single crochet into the front loop, and I'm going to mark that stitch so that I can keep it row 2 marked, because we're going to work in row 2 later on. Okay, so we got single crochet in the front loops, or front loop single crochet into each stitch across the front loops. Okay, for row 3 we're going to take the stitch marker out, and before we do anything we're going to mark our row 2 that we just worked into the, we did the front loop. We're marking that stitch because we're going to need to work in it the next row, but we need to know where it is or where it begins. So we're going to do row 3. We're going to chain 1, turn the work, and drop into the front loops that we made when we worked in the front loops for the last row. So we're going to do another front loop single crochet 2 rows below. So just single crochet in the front loops, okay. So for row 4 we're going to chain 1, turn the work, and we already have the stitch marked for us. We're gonna single crochet and remove that stitch marker. So we're gonna single crochet the first stitch, and I like to mark it immediately so that I know where it is. I don't add stitches, I don't work into the wrong stitch. So single crochet into both loops across for row 4. Okay, row 5 we're going to do the same thing. We're going to chain, turn the work, and we're going to single crochet into each stitch across into both loops. And that is the pattern. Make sure you single crochet into that marked stitch of row 4. And this is the repeat of the pattern. We'll have these ridges, and there'll be 1, 2, 3 rows in between each. So I'm going to move on to the next portion. I'll show you how many of these to repeat. So okay, so moving along, this is my humongous panel. It's so big it won't fit on screen. So because it doesn't fit on the screen, I'm just going to count the rows and go from there. So we have 2, and I'm counting by the ridges. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, and we have 33 with this ridge right here. 33 ridges, and I ended on a row 4. So I have 1 row that's in between the ridge and the outer edge, basically. And that's what the repeat needs to be. It measures 25 inches, I believe. So we chained, and we turned the work inside out, and then I'm going to insert it here. That's the stitch I'm working in, not the front ridge, but the row below. And then I'm going to bring this piece forward, and I'm going to go into, this is the foundation. This is the foundation chain we made in the beginning of the pattern. I'm just going to go into the stitch, move that tail over, and I'm going to bring the working yarn. So this is the tail, and this is the working yarn, and I'm just going to yarn over and pull through and then pull through. It's a slip stitch. So I'm going to go into the front layer, going into the middle of the stitches of the foundation layer, and I'm just going to slip stitch that closed so that it looks kind of, hopefully it looks seamless, and if it doesn't, it's okay to sew it. The reason I'm doing it like this is so that we have the yarn, the working yarn attached still, which will make it easier to close the bottom. And I will show you what I'm talking about in a second. Okay, so I slip stitch across, and this is what it looks like. So I'm gonna chain 1 to lock this into place for right now, and pull this loop up, and we're gonna flip this right side out because it's inside out right now, and we want the ridges on the outside. Obviously, I'm Captain Obvious. You can call me Captain Obvious. So we are at this point here. Now we are going to work on to the sides of each row, skipping these ridges. Okay, so we're going to do 2 single crochets into the sides of the rows, and that is what we're going to do. We already did the chain 1 when we locked it in, and we're just going to go single crochet 1, and I'm going to stitch, put that stitch marker right in there because that stitch is kind of hiding because I pulled it over this ridge. So we're going to single crochet into the next. So that's 2. Skip this ridge, going into this side of the stitch, 1 and 2. Just repeat that. Sometimes it won't be very visible. Just have to make sure to place it, 1 and 2, and just keep doing this 1 and 2 single crochet around, and I will meet back up with you guys when you've done that. I reached around where the stitch marker is, and this is my last two. This is where the seam is, so we're just going to work 2 single crochet into that area to make up for the gap, because if we didn't, we would have a gap. So we have 66 stitches, and I'm going to do some decreasing. We're going to work in continuous rounds, so it's a little seamless. So we're going to single crochet and move the stitch marker. So we did 1, and we're moving the stitch marker. We're going to work 9 single crochet. So we're going to single crochet 9. So we single crochet 9, sorry, I said that again. And then we're going to do an invisible decrease over the next 2 stitches. So we'll just insert into the front loops of the next 2 stitches and then single crochet. And that's the invisible decrease. So what we're going to repeat around until we get to this point over here is single crochet 1 in the next 9, and then work a invisible decrease over the next 2, and we're repeating that around 6 times. And I'll meet back up with you when you have that completed. I'm in the last decrease of the round, and I'm going to put my hook into the front loops and do a single crochet. Now this is round 1 of the body of the base of the pumpkin. So we have 60 stitches. If we were to count around, we would have 60 stitches. Ideally, hopefully, that is what we're hoping for. So I move the stitch marker. Round 2, we are going to do the same kinda. We're going to single crochet 1 in the next 8 stitches. So for round 2, we're going to single crochet 1 in the next 8 stitches. 3, 8. So we single crochet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we single crochet 8, and then we're going to do an invisible decrease, and we will repeat that around. So we'll single crochet 8, 1 in the next 8, and then decrease over 2, and then I'll meet back up with you when we're in the last decrease. I reached the last decrease of the round, and I'm going to work in the front loops and do a single crochet for an invisible single crochet, and we will have 54 stitches. Now I'm gonna do round 3, so we will move our stitch marker up, single crochet 1 in the next 7, and then decrease over the next 2. So 1, 2, 3, 7, and then decrease. And I will meet back up with you when you are on this side. Okay, I reached the last 2 stitches, and I'm going to do an invisible single crochet, and round 3 should have 48 stitches. Now moving on to round 4, because what we want to do is, what we're doing is we're decreasing until we have about this much width, so maybe a few more, and then we're going to attach this to close this more. It's gonna look like a pumpkin. Just trust the process. I tell myself that because, yeah. So, we're going to single crochet 1 in the next 6 stitches and then decrease. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Then we're doing an invisible decrease over the next 2. And that's what we're repeating around. And we'll have 42 stitches. And I'll meet back up with you when we're at the last decrease. This is the last decrease of the round, and I am going to work that decrease, and we should have 42 stitches. This is round 5, so in round 5 we're going to work 5 single crochet into the next 5, 1 single crochet into the next 5 stitches, and then decrease over these 2 stitches. So we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then decrease, and I will meet back up with you guys at the end of the round. So this is the last decrease, and yay, we should have 36 stitches in this round, and now we're moving to round 6. So in round 6 we will have 4 single crochets. So we're going to single crochet 1 into the next 4 stitches, and then we will decrease over the next 2, and that's what we're going to repeat around. We should have 30 stitches at the end of this round, and I'll meet back up with you when you get to the end. Okay, so we did round 6, and this is going to begin round 7. So we're going to mark the last, we're going to try to mark the last stitch of the round 6. And for round 7, we are not doing any more decreases. We're going to take our elastic and we are going to single crochet into each stitch, and we're going to work it around, kind of like when we do our hiding of our tail. So I'm going to take it, insert my hook, and then place the working yarn on top and the elastic band on the hook like this. So the hook went inside, and we're just going to yarn over and draw up a loop and single crochet around it. So we're just going to work a single crochet around it and into each stitch around, and we should have 30 stitches. So we're just going to crochet around this elastic or hair tie, depending on what you're using, and kind of turn it and manipulate it while you're working around. This should stretch out, so you should be able to just keep working around it. And that's basically what you're repeating around, and then we're going to work a slip stitch and sew the ends in at the end of this. Just crochet in each stitch around. At this point, I'm going to remove the stitch marker and finish up the round by doing my last single crochet, and then I am going to move this stitch up and slip stitch, kind of hard to see it, but slip stitch into the last single crochet of the round. So I'm just going to do like a chain one right there and snip the yarn, and we'll sew that end in and move on to the next part of this pattern. So let's stuff that in a little bit, and this is going to be the opening in which you pull the bags through. We flip the piece over, so we're going to start with a slip knot, and I'm going to join the yarn into the center stitch right here. So we have this side of the row for the single crochet rows that we did, and then we have this one. I'm going to insert it into here, and I'm going to actually take the hook and put it in first and then pull the yarn up, because that looked kind of crazy. So I'm going to chain 3, actually chain 4. So I'm going to start with a chain of 4, and I'm going to skip this side of the stitch and work into the next stitch. So we should have, and I'm going to double crochet, so we should have, yeah, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to chain 2, and then I'm going to work 1 stitch in between each ridge. So we did our 1 here, and then we're going to chain 2, work 1 double crochet. This is where the seam was. Work 1 double crochet in there, chain 2, and work 1 double crochet. And we're just going to keep repeating this process around, and this is going to make the stem. So chain 2, 1 double crochet, chain 2, 1 double crochet. Work that around, and then we will meet back up here in this area, and we'll chain 2, and then we'll join. So I'll show you how to do that when we meet back around. Okay, so this is the last stitch and chain 2, and we are going to skip. We're going to 1, 2, and 3 and 4. We're going to slip stitch into the second chain and join this stitch like that, so it's kind of seamless. And we're going to chain 1 and single crochet into the top. So, and then we're going to work 2 in between each chain 2 and 1 into the top of the double crochet, and that's what you're going to work around. When you get on this side and slip stitch, I'll just tie off and sew it in, and then we'll move on to the other part of the pumpkin, the little squiggly cues. So we are going to make the drawstrings for the bag, and this is what it looks like. We have the little squiggly curly cues and single crochets throughout, and then we have this long tail so that we could sew these together like this and weave it into the piece. So I'm going to show you how to make that. Where's my tail? So we're going to start with a 6-inch about tail, and make a slip knot. And we're going to start by chaining 90 stitches. So I decided to count by tens and do tally marks. However you want to do this is up to you, but I'm going to chain off screen because I don't want to become embarrassed by my counting that I'm just not a good counter. We don't need to talk about that. But yeah, I'm going to pause and then meet back up with you guys when I have 90 stitches total. So this is my chain of 90, what we're going to work with. And I'm doing an additional chain. So it's going to be 91 actually. That's my turning chain. So I'm going to skip this chain and work 10 or 1 into the next 10 stitches. Two, four, six. Okay, so I worked 1 single crochet into 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 stitches, and I'm going to make a curly Q, so I'm going to chain 11. I'm skipping that first chain and I'm working 3 single crochet into each chain across. So that's 3, 6, 9, and so on. I'll have 30 stitches at the end of this chain because we have 10 chains and 10 times 3 is 30. So I'm just going to continue to work across 3 single crochet in each, and I'll just work this with you guys because yeah, it's not that bad. I'm almost to the end. Sometimes the chains get tight and they like to hide, so you just have to look and dig in there and try not to skip any. That's the last. So this is the last chain right here. This is what it looks like. We're going to do 3 in there. Okay, and now we're going to look at the foundation chain, and we're going to work 1 single crochet into the foundation chain to kind of lock this curly Q up, and then we're going to make another curly Q. So we're going to chain 11 again, and skip the first chain. See if it autofocuses. So we're skipping the first chain and we're single crocheting 3 into the next 10 chains. And I'll skip this one because we just did this together, and I feel like you don't need to watch that again. I don't think you want to watch me do this again. So I'm going to skip ahead and then you're working down the chain, and then we're going to meet back up when we work down the chain. We reached the last chain, and now we have to work back into the foundation chain. So we're just going to single crochet into the remaining stitches of the chain. So all the way across until we reach the bottom of the chain. And then we'll tie off the yarn by chaining one and cutting it, and that's gonna lead us to the next step. You want to make 2 of these, so I already made this one, so you got to do this 2 more times or 1 more time, and I will meet back up with you guys when you have single crocheted all the way down the chain till the end. Okay, cool. I will see you in a bit. Okay, thank you, bye. This is the last stitch of this piece, and I'm going to chain 1 and cut a tail. And I'm going to cut a tail the same exact size, or about the same size as the starting yarn tail. We're going to use this to sew this in to the other side. So I'm just going to pull the tail through, and yeah. Okay, so this is the top of our pumpkin bag. We have these chain 2 spaces, so that's where we're gonna put our drawstring through. So basically I'm just flattening it out on one side. It doesn't matter really what side, and we're gonna start pulling our draw through words. We're gonna, so we folded it, we start by folding it in half, and this is how we're gonna put the drawstrings in. So we're gonna put the drawstrings in through one side and then go around, but it's gonna come out through the same side. So one drawstring is gonna be going like this, weaved in and out around, and the other one's going to go the opposite direction. So I'm going to grab my tails and just go on one edge or one side. So we're going to go under and over the next, and under and over, and just keep doing that around. And it doesn't matter if it's not even when you get to the other side, as in where you pull it out of. It's just gonna, yeah, it won't really matter. Just, well, I'll see what it looks like. Sometimes we have an even amount of holes and it works out, sometimes we don't. So I'm just have the little squigglies coming out that side, and I'm weaving it in and out on this side. Yep. It might be a little bit of a tight bit around, but we'll see. My first attempt at the drawstring, it was way too short, so I doubled up the amount of chaining. and tested it out, and it looked like it was fine, so we'll see. Oh, I'm on the other end. It was perfect. Yay. Okay, so instead of grabbing the squigglies, I want to, so okay, the last one, we're going to take it and go under. Actually, yeah, no, that's fine. And then I'm going to attach it here. So there's a little bit of a end out, or do I want to attach it like this? I think I'm going to attach it like that, actually. And it doesn't matter if it's all like twisted up. We're just going to attach it like that with a sewing needle. But right now I just have my crochet hook, so I'm just going to pull these two ends through one at a time and tie it off like with a knot at first, and then I'm going to worry about sewing it in later. But yeah, so I want to make it kind of seamless, but not, it doesn't really matter as much. We can fix this by sewing it. So this is my first drawstring attached, and it's good. I can open it enough so that I can place the plastic bags within it and not have it be too like constricting. So what we're going to do with this other side is we're going to repeat what we did, but we're going to go in from the opposite direction. So I'm going to look at this, and I know that I went up over, so for this side I'm going to go insert it under and weave it like that. You see what I'm saying? You see that, right? Yeah. I kind of doubt that sometimes like it gets a little blurry, so that's why I'm looking at it to make sure. But yeah, so we're weaving it in and out, opposite direction, to make a drawstring. Yep, that is what we're doing. I hope that you guys like this. I'm going to demonstrate it with bags, probably in the sunlight tomorrow, and make a whole video revealing what I made and also editing the pattern. So I want to make sure this is kind of pooled so that the squigglies are laying right there. So I'm just going to keep doing it. Put those squigglies on this side. Just going to move everything up so I don't mess with that. So yeah, we're just going in and out, in and out, in and out. Move the tails. Maybe that's why I should have sewed it. I'm just going to flip this over to make it easier for me. Wait, what happened here? At some point in this area, I'm got disheveled. That's fine. I'm just gonna keep going in and out direction. Is fine. Oh, that's why, because there was an extra. Just gonna go. Fixed it. I just skipped one. Doesn't really matter as long as you're happy with it. So just keep weaving it in. And I basically reached the end. And I'm going to repeat what I did. I took the squigglies, moved them over. And then I'm just gonna insert my hook for right now because I don't have my sewing needles. Even though I should, but really, where do they all go? I don't know. So I'm gonna pull one through, knot it, and then sew it in later. So here it is. And then I will show you guys a better visual of it tomorrow. I will record that. But movie magic, it'll be future me editing. So I'm just going to show you right now what it looks like when I tighten it. So did I not do this correctly? That's interesting. It came out. My knot wasn't good enough for you, was it? Wasn't good enough. Yeah, I'm gonna do that again and double knot that. Sorry about that. Okay, so this is what it's looking like, and I'm going to grab the curly cues, pull it tight, and then I guess you could like tie it on the top and hang it. But this is what the bag looks like. It's a little pumpkin. Yeah, I think I like it. I think it's cute. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy this, making it, or what have you. Alright, have a good day. Bye-bye.